All BSHIM Town Hall. Now, tonight in this particular town hall, we have a FERPA code that I need to make you aware of, so that if you have more than just your first name and the last initial of your last name or the first initial of your last name, you may need to make that adjustment. We will be recording this. I will post this in a number of places, and I will send these recordings out to anyone who asks for them. Now, before we go any further, I want to make sure all of you are aware. Please do not come off of mute. Want to make sure all of you are aware of the course instructors involved. Most of us were with the old BSHI program that is phasing out. We're all involved with the BSHIM course. In the upper right, we have Becky Scutro. I'm down under her on the right. In the middle bottom, we have Pam Borsom and then Melody Hoskins. Over on the left, we have Dr. Charles Beverly. Up above, Dr. Junius Logan. And in the center, we have Dr. Bridget Stasher Booker, our newest course instructor. Please be aware that the courses in both of these degree programs, we support all of them. And we'd love to hear from you if you need us for anything. Now, tonight's presentation, I'm going to open up the floor in just a few moments for Mr. Bertram Lanisquot. He has established his own business called Renown Talent, and I've heard from several of you that you know him and you've dealt with him in the past. This is the question that he gave to me that I put out in the invite that was sent to you for this evening. Did you know our national graduate unemployment rate of 6% almost doubled the national unemployment rate of 3.5%? That proves what each new graduate who has applied to an opportunity has experienced. It's much harder to get hired as a graduate. Our gentleman tonight is going to present on why each one of us should get connected. He is offering some wonderful opportunities. He has been involved in getting HIM and IT talent and placing those individuals. He's also been involved with the ICD-10 medical coding implementation at one of the largest health information management staffing vendors. So, before I go too much further, at this point, I am going to ask Bertram. I'm going to bring down my screen. Bertram, have you got yours ready to bring up and take off and running with it? And I think you are set that you are not muted. Are we okay with this?
Yes, I am fine. Thank you so much for the introduction, Diana.
Okay, now here's where I'm going to unshare. I don't know that that's a word, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop sharing, and that's going to leave the screen open for you to share what you have with us.
Okay. 1 second. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Looks great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining and taking time out of your week for this presentation. This is my first full presentation in terms of giving a presentation about a topic that I like to talk about. So your patience with me and your understanding. But, you know, this topic that we're going to talk about today is really dear to my heart, because when I got involved in healthcare, as well as when I graduated with my college degree and I got out in the job market, no one told me how hard it would be to get an opportunity. And it also speaks to me every day when I'm out there and I'm connecting and I'm helping and I'm trying my best to help everyone. in that there's so many graduates, there's so many people with new credentials, and they have these credentials, they have these degrees, and they're like, finally, the whole world has told me it's going to be so much easier once I have these degrees. And I'm not trying to be negative, but it has been hard for many. Some folks have gotten their credentials, and they've gone to the point where it's taken them a year and a half, maybe to 2 years, and they still haven't landed that, that ideal job, that dream job. And they're like, well, is it even worth it for me to get my credential renewed? So we're going to talk about all of that today, and I want to help and mentally prepare everyone that'll be viewing this presentation, especially those who are alive today, as to everything that the schools, the instructors, the educators, even the professionals and our mentors who have a lot of experience may not share with us. I'm also going to leave, and I'm really looking forward to actually having a really live Q&A towards the end of the call, because I want, for the people who were able to join and made the time to join the call tonight, I want to be very beneficial to you. Hey, Bertram, I'm having this issue. Hey, Bertram, how can you help me in this way? It's not exactly to recruit anyone here. If I can provide you some great advice and be of service to you, and you go out and you get a great renowned career, your career started in a great renowned job, that is awesome. That's all that we would like to do. But I definitely want to thank the folks at this educational institution. And Diana, I mean, we've been going back and forth ever since December about how we're going to do this and the timing and everything. So thank you for allowing me to do this. And if it's, successful and if it provides value to the group and to the audience, definitely looking forward to doing this again. Okay.
I am definitely, I have you on my list. You're going to be back in there at some point. I just don't know when.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So today we'll review and discuss the biggest threats to students and to new graduates in today's economy. I'll also go a little bit more in depth as to my career path and where I'm at right now. I'll also go into why everyone should get connected, strategies on building connections in any industry. And that's the thing, the strategies and the topics that we're going to discuss tonight is not just relevant to HIM. What if in the next 10 to 15 years, all of us are more on an IT focus, right? Or more on EHR, or more on automation, analytics. These strategies you can really apply to any industry. And as I mentioned earlier, we're definitely going to have some open discussion and question and answer towards the end of the webinar. So are there any fans of horror movies, especially those, 80s and early 90s horror movies? I'm talking about Freddy, Jason, Chucky, and all of these things. And each of those movies, you know exactly what's going to happen, right? It is so cliche. But the thing is that what happens to a lot of these people who encounter these monsters and these demons and stuff is the same thing that happens to new graduates all the time. There's always that one person when they first see the monster, they go up and they're like, I am going to clobber this guy. This guy doesn't even have a face. Like, he can't do anything. And what happens? They start punching, they start going at the market, and that's what we do with our degrees. That's what we do with our certification. And the monster just looks down and it's like, okay, yes, I took a punch, and just takes the person's head off. It took me so long to get a job that I can actually start making some money, paying off some debt, and really start living the American dream and the life. It took me almost as long to get the degree to actually find that type of job. And I'm just realizing that more and more with more professionals that I connect with. So, one way that we can definitely realize just how long it may take for us. And that's the thing, as I said, I'm not hoping for this to happen to anyone. I wish everybody could just graduate and within the next few months and the time that they're really ready to work after going through all that schooling and finals and such, that they could get those dream positions. But we have to be better armed. And that's what usually happens in those horror movies. And that's why this analogy is so crazy, because the people that don't go to the market, go to the monster and just with all of their degrees and really look at, okay, how can I position myself? How can I better arm myself to be prepared for the challenges that are coming ahead? They kind of run away, they escape, but later in the movie, they usually come out on top. They usually survive. The monster in the market is always going to be there, but as you get more experience and as you get better knowledge as to tactics as to how to handle the monster, you can definitely understand how to tackle that monster. So the biggest threats to students today and in the economy right now that we have, I would say, is that we have the highest unemployment rate. this was very shocking to me, but just doing more research for this call, because we scheduled this a little bit before that, but just doing research for this call, it just confirmed a lot of my assumptions. And we are actually the more likely to be unemployed or underemployed compared to overall workers. This is even worse for us than the boomers, right? I know there's a lot of talk right now for ageism, right? Folks that are a little bit more experienced, and let's say they have changed careers, but people might get scared to hire them or be more reserved to hire them because of their age. It's worse for college graduates right now than even the boomers. And some universities are not aligning the curriculum to the needs of today's job market. I think with the way that a lot of education is done right now with web-based, and you're able to do it online and after hours and such, that definitely helps. Even the recording of this webinar, that is great. I can imagine kind of going or not going to school, but being able to look back and see that, that presentation or for that particular day that I wasn't able to be in attendance, everything that the teacher talked about. Imagine if that's how school was actually done every day, if you're able to attend or not attend. So definitely that is changing, but it was a little bit hard because a lot of us have to work, right, to pay off college debt and all those things, but we're not able to do it if we're in a classroom sometimes. And outside of the curriculum, entering the job market a lot of times turns to be a rude awakening. And what I mean by that is we may have a lot of these degrees, and you may actually be working for somebody that has more experience, but let's say they don't have an advanced degree as you have. They end up being your boss. I'm not saying that because you have the degree that you should be above your boss, but it takes so long to get to that point. So all I'm saying there is that it usually takes us a little while to actually get the position that we're looking to get. And a lot of folks that I connect with today, they're like, well, Bertram, ideally I do not want to be a medical coder, right? I'm not looking to do that. I want to do something more involved in EHR. I want to do something more involved with analytics. That's fine, but what if we find out the only job we can get post-education and post-school is actually a coding position? And that's the rude awakening that I'm talking about. We realize that even with all of those things, sometimes we do have to start out at the bottom. And there's nothing wrong with that because you learn so much and you can connect with so many people that will better prepare you for those senior opportunities. But that's what I hear from a lot of students that I just talked to as to, okay, you're going to have your degree within 6 months, a year. What are you looking to do? And I just know a lot of those positions end up going to the people with a little bit more experience. So in terms of myself, and this is an old picture, forgive me, but I entered the workforce as a college graduate in late 2007. It was probably the worst time to graduate because we all know what happened in 2008, right? We had the Great Recession. So I went from employment to unemployment, and just around the time I was on unemployment for like 6 months, I was able to find a job. I was underemployed, and then I actually got involved in healthcare after another 6 or so months. I got involved in a healthcare company, and that's actually where I fell in love with recruiting. And I think the whole employment, unemployment, underemployment experience really helped me realize just how sensitive our job security is. So when I found out I can actually help people being a recruiter from folks that were fired, mistreated, discriminated against, or just really need a job, I can actually be that person that could connect them. I fell in love with it. I started within my HM recruiting career in 2011, and I had a 3-year delay from actually getting involved in healthcare to actually finding that job. I think that also helped because just having all that passion, having all of that desire to be a recruiter and not being able to do it, I think that just really lit a fire in me that I still have today, and it helped me become a peak performer within 6 months. Within the company that I was hired as a recruiter, I was able to help them change the corporate recruiting culture to incorporate daily social media. I had the states of Iowa, North and South Dakota, and I think I had a 4th state, but those are the 3 or 4 states that I had. And it was interesting because in those states, I could not recruit anyone because all of those major healthcare systems where we would usually recruit HRM professionals from were our clients. And in recruiting, there's a very firm rule that you do not recruit from your clients. You don't take from Peter to pay Paul, or even Peter to pay Peter's cousin, right? So it just was very hard for me to find people. So I found out within the company I was working, they did not have a social media recruiting policy, meaning social media recruiting was open to everybody. And I'll get into the stats in a little bit, but that became my avenue, and no one was doing it. So I became essentially the social media recruiting, also while still calling into my states. And it just gave me the world of opportunity to really start recruiting people from that as a platform, and I still do it today. I then got recruited to be a recruiting director at a company and start their recruiting from scratch. And that company actually got sold, part of the company, only part of the company got sold for to $1 billion healthcare IT company. So it just shows how you can kind of have those humble beginnings and just do something amazing. But 45 days before that transaction actually happened, I started my recruiting agency. I just had a passion to do something a little bit different. And even like this presentation, I don't think as many folks within any type of corporate structure have as many restrictions to doing public presentations like this, as well as HR professionals, recruiters, and salespeople. The CEO can do it, CFO, all of these folks can do it, but as a recruiter, you cannot speak on behalf of anyone because it could go back to them and it could give them a black eye, even though it's all positive. There's too many regulatory processes within HR and human resources. So also being able to give back to the industry that has given me so much is one of the reasons why I started my agency as well. And just as a little reminder, and if you've just joined, thank you for coming. We definitely look forward to serving you. Just make sure that you are on mute.
Thank you. I was trying to check.
Oh yeah, no problem. And I definitely understand, anytime you're having these types of things, people are going to join a little bit later. And that's absolutely fine. We haven't really even gotten to like the juicy stuff just yet. So who can name all of these social media platforms? And I say that because, whenever there's new and emerging technology, a lot of thank you, there's Facebook, yep, there's Instagram, yep, message in, everyone. There's Twitter, there's WhatsApp, there's Twitter, I missed one. I think I saw Facebook. There's Skype, there's two more no one has mentioned. Pinterest, LinkedIn, and there's one, Snapchat. Yes, there you go. So we have Facebook, Instagram. We have Facebook, Instagram. We're coming to you. I saw you just had that question. We're coming to you in a second. There's Facebook, Instagram, Skype, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, and WhatsApp. And the reason why this is very important because when Facebook first got started, we all know Facebook was essentially a platform that you can connect with old people that you went to school with, right? Now Facebook has turned into a behemoth for advertising, for videos. Facebook right now is actually YouTube with Instagram as well, but it's actually YouTube's biggest competitor right now because we're all getting sucked in by these addictive videos on our feed, and they have ads in the middle of them, but they always put the ads right when the getting gets good, right? With Skype and with WhatsApp, now a lot more employers are starting to utilize video conferencing. I was traveling with family over in South Korea, and I was working for my last company, and we had to hire someone. So, we did the phone interviews and everything, but I couldn't meet this person face-to-face. Also, to save money, I did a video chat with this individual. I thought that it would just be so awesome for us to do that video chat. I just did a FaceTime because it was easy, and I confirmed that that person had, an iPhone, so it just happened to be easier. But I've also helped managers have Skype calls with other individuals that they're looking to hire, and they actually do end up getting those positions because a lot of managers like to actually see that person that they're meeting. And with a lot of us being remote or planning to be remote, that's something that we're going to have to get used to. So the point here is that we have to start getting more familiar with these. We're not saying that you need to be an all-out pro. We're not saying that you need to be an all-star or an expert, but we need to be familiar. And the great thing about today is that we have our smartphones. And all of these platforms are on our smartphones, and we can use them. A lot of folks may be even watching this or listening to this very presentation on their smartphones. So it's so much easier, and I think, a lot more people are getting more tech savvy. My mom was not necessarily, an early adopter of anything, but she is like blowing my whole family up on WhatsApp. I'm like, Mom, you need to get on Facebook because the way that you're messaging and the stuff you send us, it's like she's like a Facebook user. She's not there just yet, but it's just so interesting how technology can not just change the way that we communicate, but also change the way that managers, hiring managers, recruiters are reaching out and connecting with people. I do quite a bit of recruiting right now on Facebook and Instagram. Not Instagram, sorry, LinkedIn, okay? And as the platforms change and we get more used to, TikTok is not on here, but that's like the latest boomer. We'll see what happens to that once it matures, right? That's going to be a little something as well. Like you just always have to stay up to date with the latest and greatest. Okay. Another thing, Facebook and LinkedIn also have job boards that we can post to, and we can actually apply to jobs as well. So we're in the past, or I think earlier in my generation, we used to apply to Monster and Career Builder. I think those are still there, but they're not really where most of the jobs are right now. There's also Indeed, or if you're a particular industry that you're looking to get involved in, those associations usually have job boards as well. So just going around the world, early last year they did a survey, and this is by Hootsuite. So in our population today, we have around, 7.6 billion people. 5.1 billion are mobile users. In South Korea, I learned on my last trip that more people actually apply to jobs using their cell phone than an actual computer or in-person application. They've made the process so easy that you can apply utilizing your cell phone. And it's interesting because even though, let's say, the code is written in English, it has to be able to accept the Korean TypeScript and the Korean text and all of those things. Okay. With internet users at 4.3 billion, active social media users, and this is the big thing, 3.4 million. So we're not at 50% penetration just yet, but this is what the very first recruiting company that I started working with, this is what they were missing. They were so used to calling on the phone, right? That they're like, well, Bertram, and this is, I've actually heard my mentor say this at the time, anyone who is actually an HR professional is in our system. So all we have to do is just keep in contact with them, and as they want to change jobs, we can help them with that. But I was able to add people all through my 4 years of working my first recruiting position, was able to add people to the system. They were missing it because what happened in the transition that they missed was a lot of people at the time were working on site. As companies started to allow their employees to work home, they hired new individuals, and instead of bringing them on site, they sent them straight home. So we never got a chance to actually call into the office or to the facility or to the hospital, find out who these people were, and put them in our system. So for years, they kind of had this bubbling group of individuals that were just offline. And the big thing to each of you today is the same thing with hiring managers. There's a big group of people that have these really high positions and can be the decision makers, can be your mentors, can make the career change in your lives and your professional lives right now, but you can't find them. Why? Because they're hiding somewhere. But they're not essentially hiding, they're just more, I would say, in a different area on social media. And we'll definitely get into a lot of the benefits about that a little bit later, but that's why these numbers matter, okay? And in today's economy, I'll definitely tell you it's more about who you know and who you're connected with than what you know. Okay, I'll say again, it's more about who you know than what you know. Because when you think about it, and let's say you have that credential, right? Let's say you have that HIM degree, that is perfect. And believe me, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get those things. A lot of folks that have a hard time and they have the experience, they actually have to go back to school. They have to go back to the associations to get their credentials. But what I'm saying is that just having the knowledge alone is not enough in today's job market. That's when I met Jason and I could not beat him because I had the degree, but I didn't have any connections. I should have spent just as much time studying as being out there and connecting with people, because LinkedIn wasn't really, I had a LinkedIn profile, I was an early adopter, but it wasn't really what it was today. And people were still kind of getting on. But I just realized that it's really about who you know. I actually got my first recruiting opportunity from having a strong LinkedIn profile and from somebody that I knew. I tried out the company I was working with for many years to get a recruiting position. They wouldn't hire me without experience. The executive assistant at the company at the time, her husband was a peak performer. So like the last 3 or 4 people that he referred to the company, they all became $1 million producers. That was a big thing for that company. And he said, I need a really good recruiter. She introduced me to him. We spoke on the phone. He sent my resume to a manager. They had 3 or 4 managers fighting over my resume. And it's not particularly because what was on my resume, because I didn't have a month of recruiting experience. I repeat now, I didn't have a month of recruiting experience. But because he referred me and he said, hey, I've talked to this person and I believe Bertram has what it takes to be a good performer at this company, I think you should give him a chance. They had 3 managers fighting over my resume. And what's crazy to me is because each interview that I had before that company hired me lasted 5 to 10 minutes and all ended the exact same way. Bertram, we cannot hire you because you do not have experience. I tell you, we would not be having this conversation right now if I did not connect with that executive assistant and her husband referred me to the company. It wouldn't have happened. So please, it's great to have the credentials, it's great to have all the experience, but we have to understand that in the world that we live in today, and I'd like you to think about just anybody that works around your household, your apartment, right? Let's think about the person that cuts your grass, the person that works on your roof, the person that helps babysit your kids, where you take your kids to, the nannies. Think about all these people that kind of help us in our day-to-day. How did you get to trusting these people? Okay. In Florida a few years ago, I live in Florida, the Tampa, Florida area. I needed a yard person, and I had the hardest time to find somebody. So I called one yard guy, and they're like, I'm too busy. I called another yard guy, I'm too busy. I called it was a very bad rainy season, so everybody was having their grass cut. I called like 3 or 4 people. I got referred to this one gentleman. He's like, yeah, where do you live? He made sure I was on his route. And then he said, yeah, I can be there next week. I can cut your grass. And I've worked with him for the last 3 to 4 years. And he does a really fantastic job, always on time. And if I need anything, if I don't want him to come, I just text him and he says, yeah, it's fine. That's the power of referrals. But if I spent my afternoon going through the yellow pages or yellow online pages and trying to call people, I would have just had the hardest time, or I probably would have had to pay more because I'll just be talking to more corporate people than talking to somebody that would actually know somebody that's a good person. So we all can realize that definitely the power of relationships can help us in our careers as well. And this is the big thing. We have to realize that social media is for everyone. You know, if anyone has studied product life cycles, it's usually the younger generations that are the early adopters, right? But as they grow older, as well as the platforms, as they mature, as Facebook grows to what it is today, as an example, LinkedIn, all of these platforms, the audience matures as well. So when people would be like, oh yeah, I don't want to be on Facebook because it's just for kids and stuff. Quite honestly, if you actually look at the most active users on, let's say, platforms like Facebook as well as Instagram, they're actually, the demographics and the average demographic is like a female in her 40s that has at least one child, sorry. So that is not necessarily a younger generation. Now, what does a younger generation do? They actually jump off those platforms and they go on to something else. So everybody right now, from what I understand, like they're on TikTok because that's the latest thing, right? Some of them have even deleted their Facebook. But as that matures, we're going to jump on that one too. But the big thing today is that it's really good for us to get connected and get on those platforms because that's where the career and the job opportunities are. All right, so this is the meat and potatoes. Okay, this is where I actually would love to show you from my profile and actually going through an example because it's easy to talk about it, but I don't just want to show each of you slides. LinkedIn, from I believe the user agreement that I have, only allows me to do so much, but I'll definitely feel free to share with you and talk with you as much as I can. Okay, so Diana, let me know if I'm doing something wrong or if you can't see my screen, but I'm going to be switching from the PowerPoint to my browser. Okay, so when we are getting social, okay, the best thing, and this is in regards to LinkedIn, is for you to create, okay, and complete your profile. Okay, create and complete. And the reason why I say complete is that completed profiles on LinkedIn actually have a 40% greater chance of networking success, meaning the people that they like to connect with, you usually be able to connect with that person. And once you're able to connect with that person, you can then take that relationship where you like professionally. Okay, so hey, I am in the Boston area and I'm a new graduate and I want to connect with HIM directors, right? Health Information Management directors, because they are the decision makers and they can give me the job opportunity or know somebody who has a job opportunity. If you have a completed profile, it'll be easier for folks to find you and locate you. Example, recruiters, HIM professionals, hiring managers, right? And then you'll be able to get those career opportunities. So I'm going to be switching to my browser right now. Hopefully everyone can see it.
You're doing fine, Bertram. It looks great.
Okay, thank you. So as we, the profile completion part used to be somewhere over here, but they've moved it right here. And this is the thing, with these profiles, it will actually show you exactly what you need to do to complete your profile. And, you know, as anyone would say, you definitely want to have a professional picture. The title, you can edit this or you can, you know, customize this, but it will also allow it to produce one for you. So if you say, hey, I am the CEO and founder of Renown Talent, it will actually ask you, oh, do you want that to be your title? And it'll put it in here for you. And then you can actually show your contact information or share how much you want. And that's the thing. I know a lot of folks are like, well, Bertram, it's great to have a profile and all these things, but I do not want to be contacted, or I don't want recruiters reaching out to me. I don't want to be hounded. This is the thing. We can never predict the future. Okay, I say this again. We can never predict the future. And if a recruiter were to reach out to me right now and I wasn't looking for an opportunity, the best thing you can do is have a special folder in email, save that person's information, and just respond, hey, thank you for reaching out to me, but I'm not currently seeking opportunities. Recruiters and these people, they're usually busy. They will usually not hound you. If somebody spams you on all those things, you will definitely know what to do because we've learned that even from email. But it's good to have those connections in your pocket. It's good for you to have your resume ready because you never know what's going to happen. Then when you need an opportunity, you can go back to it. But I think immediately shutting it off and burning a future bridge because you think like, oh, well, I'm never going to need an opportunity, we never know. You know, depending on how things go and how things went with the economy back in 2008, some people that were looking at retirement ended up working a few more years because their nest egg was much less at the end of all of those things, right? It was locked up. They couldn't get it. So, you know, you just never know. So that's the first thing. I definitely say is to create and complete your profile, making sure it's at 100%. And if you have your resume, it's easy because you can copy and paste your descriptions. You can put in the dates that you were hired. You can put in your school, the degrees, and all of these things, okay? All right. And the second step is to connect with people that you know. You know, it's like, well, how do you get to having 500 plus connections? Well, first what I did was I just connected with family, then I connected with people professionally. In the classes that you're with, connect with your classmates, you know, connect with your coworkers. And it doesn't matter who or where they are right now because you never know where they're going to be 10 years from now. You know, 10 years ago, I was working in a job not even close to recruitment, not even close to HIM. But imagine, I remember folks were actually in my very office because we did enrollment and that deals with the payers and all those things, right? And I remember my coworkers used to talk about medical coding and HIM. They're like, hey, I should go and get my credential because if I have my credential, I know I can step into this. And it's funny because it's easy to say, but I don't believe anybody really did it because that takes a lot of studying. It takes a hard work. And a lot of you that are here today, you've put in that hard work, right? You've made the commitment, and that's great because a lot of folks just really talk about it than actually doing it. But it's just so funny that it's the same industry that I ended up working in. So connect with people that you know, and also get connected with people that you like to know, okay? So one thing that I do on a daily basis, and even you can do this from your smartphone as well, is I just go through the tabs here at LinkedIn. And the second one that I love to go through is just getting connected with my network. LinkedIn makes great recommendations from people that you may know from your college or from your school, and also just people that you may know in your area professionally. And they usually do this by mutual connections. And it's like, well, very honestly, I do not know Laura, okay? But why not I connect with her? We have this many connections. We recruit within the same industry. I do understand this company and this company. it's better for me to get connect with her. So I will usually send out, and my general rule is to send out 10 connection requests a day. That's how you're going to build the network that is going to be really beneficial to you. And the thing is, once you're able to get connected with these individuals and you build this over time, this is not an overnight success type story. This is something that will take months or even years. But the thing is, if you're in school, it's perfect because let's say you spend 2 years just getting connected with people, you will definitely get surpassed all of these, all of those numbers. And then you'll start seeing what is important to people. You know, you'll see what events people are going to. And this is the biggest thing. The events is definitely where you will likely find a lot of the decision makers. It's so much harder to connect with people now that everything is online. But as we, you know, as the networks mature and as we have events, we're able to see what's important. And then we're able to say, hey, I'm actually going to go to that event because I definitely see a few people in my industry, people that I want to connect with, decision makers, are starting to go to those events. So it's more of a long game than a short game, everyone. It's definitely more of a long game than a short game. And as you can, like, share, follow, comment on their posts. That's how you start to build those relationships. Okay? So that's on a social way that we can do it. And I would also suggest to take it offline, okay? We most underestimate the power of networking locally or nationally. And the great thing about HIM and the industries that a lot of you are involved in is that they have these associations and it brings all of the decision makers in one place. Now, I know in regards to AHIMA, a lot more people used to attend, and I think it's because the facilities, they used to have a lot more independent facilities, and they used to usually pay for the folks to attend. And after ICD-10, that's kind of gone down a little bit, so after 2015. But I'm telling you, there's so many people that I've been connected with on LinkedIn and all of these platforms that I've met face-to-face. And it's actually walking because I post jobs very regularly. I do some video content as well. They get to see and recognize my face, and I will end up running into these people and these decision makers at these shows. So you'll see some of the folks that you'll like to know. And a lot of those individuals sometimes are very guarded, meaning like, oh, well, this person is that decision maker at that healthcare system. But no matter how you message them, you follow their content, you comment, they do not respond. But you will see them at a show, and they will be a totally different person. And I remember there was this one person that I used to work with, great guy, but he was always under so much stress. He was just very short with everyone. And I remember I ran into him when I was actually helping a hiring manager do a video interview on Skype. So that manager had my phone, so I was just kind of hanging out close to where they were talking, and I saw this individual, and he was a totally different person. Oh, Bertram, how are you doing? How are the kids? And all of these things. And I'm like, whenever I talk to you in email and on meetings over the phone, you are like, you're so mean, you know, for lack of a better word. But he was so genuine and he was so nice. And I told my other coworkers, like, hey, I ran into him and like he's actually a nice guy. He's like, yeah, he's under a lot of stress. I always heard that, but speaking to him face to face and in person, it was just something totally different. So that's why taking it offline is really important. And another thing is, I went to the Florida HEMA show. I think it was last year, July. It's in Orlando, so it's on an hour and a half from my residence. And I was there. And this is what was very interesting from that whole experience. There's a client that I'm currently working with, and we have a contract signed to help them with staffing services or recruiting services if they need anyone. I ran into one hiring manager at the show. Hey, Bertram, how are you doing? How's the new business? Everything's going fantastic. And this is what he said. Hey, Bertram, we actually are looking to hire 5 people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, yeah, well, we have a contract with you guys, so whatever you need, I can, we can help and we can assist you. And he told me about like the ballpark of what they would like to spend and all of those things. And I did the very quick math. It was a $100,000 opportunity. It was a $100,000 opportunity. And listen, everyone, this gentleman and I, we have each other's phone numbers. I also saw him at the Chicago National AHIMA Conference. We rode in an Uber together. We've always talked. I've always had the greatest respect for him. I've worked with him professionally. I've hired for his team in the past. He had all my information. He could have easily texted me and said, hey, Bertram, I'd love for you to help us out. We have this opportunity. Let's go. But actually seeing him at the show, us having a private moment, no phone calls, no emails, not me staring at a computer, just us having that private moment talking, hey, how's your business doing? What's going on? Do you need anything? And he's like, yeah, Bertram, let's work together. And a lot of times what happens in recruiting, just because I have a contract with a company, it doesn't mean that the manager is approved or the manager would like to work with a particular company. Nothing against me, but they're like, hey, we have it covered. We're doing something internal. But because we had a chance to connect, I was able to email his HR right after that, and I got the clearance to start working in those positions. Just because I was at the show. So please do not underestimate the powers of taking it offline. And I understand we all have families, we all have kids, dogs, cats, grandmas, we all have all of these things. But when we know that, for example, the AHEMA show is going to be in this area way ahead of time, and if you can make it, I'd highly encourage you to get out there and start networking. That also what makes the difference, because people love to work with people that they know. I say this again, people love to work with people that they know. And if you've applied to a job, what's going to happen? They're going to recognize your name, and a name like Bertram Lanisquot, they're going to say, okay, this is a unique name. I should be able to find him. They go online and they Google, right? And look what comes up, our LinkedIn. And they're going to check out your profile because they want to learn more about each of us. And I've talked to hiring managers, and they do this all the time. Like, yeah, Bertram, I've seen their profile. One thing that also helped me get my first recruiting job, the social media guru of the company heard about me because the peak performer that referred me was his actually like close coworker. They sold in different territories, but they were pretty close. And he actually looked at my profile and he said, yeah, Bertram, I actually recommended to hire you as well because you had a really good social media presence. You had a LinkedIn. I can see you're a forward-thinking person. So please do not underestimate the power of your LinkedIn profile. All right. And now we're going to have just a quick little moment to speak to those new graduates and those people that are in school and also people that are ready to make a career change. These are my 3 Ps, and that is to be patient. You have to understand that it takes time. It took me the same amount of time and almost the same amount of time to get my college degree, 4.5 years, to actually get a job in recruiting and really start making it a difference in people's lives. Also being paid financially, that I was able to really start taking care of things, because before that I had a lot of debt. I didn't graduate with any college debt. I had scholarships. I was able to work close to full-time hours all while I was in college. But still, it just took a while. And I didn't know. I thought, hey, it'll probably take me a year, maybe 2 years, right, to really start doing something. And it took me 4 years. So all I want to encourage each of you is that just be patient, okay? Be professional. I know a lot of times when you're applying, we get a lot of rejections. We don't hear. We feel like we got ghosted, right? We're a perfect person for the opportunity. The thing is that you do not want to burn a future bridge. You never know what's going to happen. And sometimes I've seen some jobs actually get canceled, not because of the applicant, not because of the hiring manager. Sometimes funding gets cut. Something changes within the company, so they cannot hire that person anymore. And just because somebody goes to you or treats you unprofessional doesn't mean you need to be unprofessional as well. So always be professional, because you do not want that to be held against you. There's some individuals with a lot of experience, all their credentials, I cannot get them a job because they've burnt a bridge, and now a lot of these health systems are connected, and that one person that they almost worked with or they had a bad experience with is preventing them from getting a job. We are not going to hire the lawyers and the litigators and all those things. We also cannot really prove it, but we have a feeling. So all we can do is just do our best and say, hey, we're not going to do that again, And I understand that things happen, especially with a lot of us being remote. If you're working with your manager and something happens, anything is going to affect your job, your productivity, all of those things, just be honest and speak with your manager so they understand and they don't blacklist you. Because I've been blacklisted in the past for turning my resignation to actually get my recruiting job. But all I could do and the only way that I can react is just being professional. They can do whatever they want, but I don't want people to say it was because of the way that I treated them, right? So that's that thing. and then just be persistent. Just because it's not happening, everyone, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I repeat, just because it's not happening doesn't mean it's not going to happen, okay? I believe, like let's say you look at your resume and you've spent years reflecting and perfecting your resume. You sent it to people in different industries to give you pointers and tips, and you have a really strong resume. You've been paid a resume writer to write that resume. I had a very strong resume, and the same resume that I applied to jobs that only lasted the phone interviews from 5 to 10 minutes and I did not get the job for 3 years, that's the same resume I sent to the recruiting company that hired me. I had to be persistent. I could not give up. I was not going to give up. I wasn't going to go to school and spend all this time and sacrifice all those hours just for nothing, right? And or just to get by. And it's so funny because when they saw that resume, managers were fighting over my resume. There's a time and place for everyone. And if we're not persistent and if we give up, it's crazy. It's almost like that little meme. I think some of you might have seen it, right? There's two people digging for diamonds. And there's one person, like he got like one diamond or he's just about to get one diamond and he's like, yes, I'm rich. But the other guy, he hasn't got it yet, but there's so many more diamonds than the first person. All he has to do is just keep on going and he can have all of those riches. It's not about money, it's not about riches, but the point is for us to each reach our goals if we are persistent to reach them, okay? And just quitting because it's hard is not the solution. And there's a motivational speaker and somebody that's been very influential in my life that I listen to. His name is Les Brown. And Les Brown says, if it's hard, do it hard, And what he means by that is, it's hard. Okay, then keep on doing it. Like, do it harder, Like, be as persistent and be as difficult as a position is being. Doesn't mean you want to not be professional, not be patient, but it just means that, okay, if it's taking you a little while, then just put in the time and put in the effort. Because it's the hardest thing and the hardest person to beat, I believe, is somebody that won't give up. Okay, somebody that won't give up. And what I mean by that is if we just continue going and striving for what we believe, the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the universe has put in our heart to do, we are going to get those opportunities. So I just don't want any of you to give up. But I definitely understand because when you're going through it, it can be very discouraging. There are times in my business right now, there are days that are just very discouraging. I just have to take a walk, right? I just have to go work out. I have to go release some stress, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to work out. It doesn't mean we're not going to have clients, make money, and keep on changing people's lives. It's all going to happen, but you just have to be persistent, okay? All right. So before we get into the gift that I've made, available and all of those things, I want to turn it over to a live Q&A. I see that we're around the 50th minute, so I'll try to answer as many questions as I can.
You have
And I
plenty
think,
of time. There are already some questions in the chat. Are you able to see those, Bertram?
yep, hold on one second.
Okay. And I'm going
Yeah,
to
hold on.
unmute and ask people to please keep the background noise to a minimum. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm going to leave people muted and they can take themselves off if they want to ask you a question. And I'm going to ask that they put them back on mute once the question and answer between you and them is over, because there is a lot of background noise out there, I know.
Okay, let me do this. Let me unshare my screen, and then I'll be able to see the full chat. Now it's only showing me like one
One or two
portion.
things. Okay.
Yeah, so let me do that, okay?
Okay.
Let me just stop sharing my screen so I can get the
Tell,
full
tell me
WebEx.
if you're
Okay.
seeing everything that you need to see.
All right, I see, yep.
Okay.
Okay, I see from Sonia. And thank you everyone for joining. I see that we have around 20 participants, so that's awesome. So I want to be a coder, but I can't get a job. I have a CCS and a CPCA, no experience. All right. So Sonia, let me ask you, and I probably already know the answer to this. What other like platforms have you used to try and apply to opportunities? Like, how do you apply to opportunities?
Sonia, you can unlatch, take it off and speak.
I've tried 3 different hospital systems here. I've tried Prisma, McLeod, and Lex Memorial, but they always said the same email I get always. They're going with somebody more experienced, and most
Yep.
jobs say they
Okay.
need 2 to 4 years experience.
Okay. Sonia, are you only applying online or through their applicant tracking system?
Yes.
Okay. I would highly encourage you to try your best to apply through somebody in the company. What this means is if you can find somebody in the HIM department, if you can connect with that person, if you can try to take that person out to lunch or to coffee, whatever the case is, totally professional, but try your best to do it through somebody that you know. The recruiting position that I got, if I actually applied online, they probably would have given me a job. But I would have actually got a job on the second floor doing lead generation, just gathering people for the salespeople and the recruiters to call. Me being referred by somebody that works in the company, I went straight to the third floor. The third floor were the producers. The third floor were the people that are actually making a change and making a difference in people's lives. I wasn't just gathering their information. I would have been fine and happy doing either job, but I know deep down that the third floor was a place for me. And the thing is, it's much easier because that's the thing. Like when you apply online, it's so easy for them to just disregard your resume. It's so easy for them to say, oh, she doesn't have experience. But when somebody that works for the company, and let's say that person has a lot of experience, and that person says, hey, I know Sonia doesn't have any experience, but we can definitely train her as we've done in the past, and I think she can be good. And good God, you have your CCS. There should be no reason why they shouldn't give you a position. And that's the thing. I know a lot of companies have red tape. And the company that I wanted to work for at the third floor, they only hired people with experience. After I was hired, even though I was a really good performer, I spoke with other people that were hired in the company. The recruiting manager that hired me actually told them, you have to go somewhere else, get experience for at least a year or two before I can hire you. So I
Okay.
really want you just to try a different strategy. Also try to go to a local event. Try to go to a HEMA event. Try to go to an AAPC. The thing is, a lot of these decision makers attend those. A lot of these HM directors, people that it's hard to get a hold of. And you'll just say, hey, my name is Sonia. I have my resume, and I just have the hardest time. But I know that if I can provide value to you, or if it's the end of the month and you guys are backed up and you need somebody to file papers, whatever it is, I can be a resource to you. If they see that you're hungry and you're willing to do what it takes, and yes, I have a CCS, that is going to make the difference. It's very easy to deny somebody something if it's just online, if it's just electronic. Through somebody that they know, somebody that has a vested interest, somebody that has a sweat equity speaking for you, it makes all of the difference. So for you, Sonia, that's what I love for you to do.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I do attend the APC meetings. I started back, and I got a card from somebody. I'm gonna call her this week.
And that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of times when people talk about having these like you meet these people at these shows and stuff, and you have their card, and it almost seems one way. Like, oh well, my name is Bertram and I need a job, so can you help me? But we have to just be genuine as to who they are, what they do, what they're active in, and all those things. And then usually after that, people will be like, oh, well, Sonia, we've just been talking about me. How can I help you? But if you have that person's card, and this is the thing I'd also recommend for each of you too, be indirect as possible. Meaning, if you're talking to Bertram, say, hey, Bertram, it would be great if you can get me a job, but if you know somebody else that can get me a job, can you help me? What that does is that actually takes all the burden off Bertram, and Bertram starts thinking about his network, and Bertram starts connecting with people in his network that might be able to help.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So when you talk to this person and say, hey, pleasure speaking with you. I was on this webinar and it was just all this great information, and I thought you would be the perfect person. Hey, who do you know? Do you know anybody? And just have your pen and paper out and just kind of follow that trail. That's what recruiters do all the time. We follow the referral trail. That's how we're usually able to find really good people. I don't know if I'm saying this right, Saber B. I am reading, I'm going through that article right now to learn a little bit more about it, okay?
Okay.
But I'm going to come back to that. Okay, now I'm going to go to Jasmine. Do you have any contacts looking for interns? I need to complete 2 internships to graduate last semester. I personally do not have any contacts that are looking that hire interns. Jasmine, I would ask you, have you connected with any prior graduates or anybody else that has completed internships to network with them to see if they know anybody that can be of service to you?
Well, I've just been suggested to reach out to the director of HIM at the hospital that I work at, which I have. I've been reaching out via email since November of last year, and I can't get a definite answer from her, to say, yes, we'll make time to do your internships. So I'm kind of have my hands tied, and I'm still looking.
So you said this is actually at the hospital that you work at?
Yeah, actually, I'm not in the field. I actually repair medical equipment, so I'm third party at the hospital, but I've reached out to her to get experience, through her
Yes.
department. Yeah.
Do you know where her department is in the hospital?
No, I have to find out. No.
Okay. What I would suggest for you to do is try your best to form a relationship with people in that department. Now, we're talking about a hospital here. We're talking about medical records. That is probably the second most protected thing to the money that's at that hospital, quite honestly, and the prescriptions, because it has very sensitive information. So you may not be able to get into that department. But what you can do is you can knock on the door and you can ask to speak with somebody. And the person that you speak with, you find out what their favorite snack or drink is, and you find out the same thing for the HIM manager, director, and those things. And what you do, you go to the store, you buy that snack, or you go to Sam's Club, Costco, you buy a big one, and you box it up and you give it as a present. You say, hey, my name is Jasmine. I've been trying to get in contact with you. And that's the thing, like with LinkedIn, for example, I'm very active. Not everybody's active. Not everybody checks their email. Not everybody checks those messages. So even though it's a very great platform, it doesn't mean that everybody uses it very often. Some people only go on there when they have the time, right? Not everybody in every position is staring at a screen. Sometimes they're just so busy in their own email, they don't have a chance to actually network and such, okay? But it doesn't mean we cannot form a connection. And just as a good faith gesture, if you would actually get, just as a recommendation, a snack, something that actually means something to those individuals, and just see what would happen, right? Like leave your card, leave your resume, and just say, hey, I just want to help. Anything that I can do within your department to help me get my internship completed, that's what is going to make the difference. We have to go further, and I always advise people who are trying to break into anything, any department, to think outside the box. Because even though we've shared this with these 18 or so participants, right, these 20 people, and the people who will watch this in the recording, who's actually going to do that? Who's going to do it? Only the people that really want to do whatever it takes to actually get those positions. But I also believe that we should be ethical, right? And I also believe that we should do things legal. And I don't think giving a gift to somebody that you'll possibly be working with, trying to establish a relationship and such, and let's just say keeping it under $10, right? Just buying a few snacks or some soda, whatever, Starbucks gift card, whatever, and dropping it off and just saying, hey, I'm just trying to connect with you. If you can kind of help me complete my internship hours, it'll be a big help. And a lot of times what you'll hear from those individuals is, Jasmine, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to ignore you. It's been crazy end of month, people sick, da-da-da-da-da, and then they'll usually be able to help you. But try to think out of the box and try to think how you can connect with that person professionally.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely hope that it helps. Oh, this, I think it's Sabra B. This social experiment I did read about this. Essentially, somebody used a dummy account and they wanted to see that if I applied, what would happen compared to another person. It was also done by somebody. It was also done by somebody that was somebody else did a similar thing by different race to see what would happen. And this is the thing. Anytime you're using technology is only going to be a reflection of the people who are using it. Okay, and what I mean by that is if people have bias, and let's say I don't know, let's say it's racism, whatever it is, it's only going to reflect in whatever they want. And this is the thing, like for me, and I'm African American, okay? I know that, and I knew getting involved in corporate America that not everybody would be very well receptive of me, but it doesn't mean that a lot of people won't be receptive of me. And I don't want to focus on the negative in the world. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be bias. I'm not saying that I'm not going to apply to a job and that person may not hire me. But it's very interesting because the last corporate position that I worked for and the last boss that actually hired me, this gentleman was born and raised in Tennessee. He had a very thick accent, and a lot of the gentlemen that I worked with were Caucasian, but they were actually the best bosses that I ever had. They cared for me as an individual. I found out that the company was actually more of a global company, meaning that we worked with a lot of people that were over in India. We actually made trips over there quarterly. We had a very, very international company. We actually had an Indian CFO that was promoted to the CEO, so they were very forward-thinking and they were very respectful. And whenever we were hired, and definitely one thing when I was brought into the company because I headed up the recruitment team, discrimination was not something that was in our vocabulary, and we never held it against somebody's age or race or anything like that to hire that individual. And this is the thing: if you do a social experiment and you want to see that, oh well, if I put my husband's picture or whatever and I apply to a job, he applies to a job and I apply to a job and they respond to him and they don't respond to me, why would you even want to work for that employer? And what I mean by that is if that person is going to show bias, you only want to be where you're going to be appreciated. And if that's the case for that company, they're probably not heading in a very good direction. So the companies that are winning now are very forward-thinking. They're very open to accepting people of different races. And I definitely understand, as we get older, there's ageism, and there's actually reverse ageism right now, okay? I'll introduce something new. There are young professionals that are managers and people that have experience, but older generations are not even wanting to listen to them because they're like, well, I have kids your age kind of thing, right? We can get into the isms and all those things, but I'm not necessarily going to focus on the few companies that are not going to hire us because of those things. You're only going to do well and you're only going to thrive, not just getting the job, by being appreciated in that job. And those people want you to succeed. Them just hiring you because they need somebody, that's not the place that you want to work. And a lot of companies right now, they're actually having a very hard time finding talent. Okay, by the jobs that are open to the jobs and the people that they actually find, a lot of jobs are really hurting right now for the right individuals. Okay, all right, I'm going to jump over to Jennifer's question. What's your best advice for somebody who's changing degrees to HIM in their late 40s? I have 25 plus years in my current field and find it difficult to be taken seriously for a new job because I'm not a nurse. How do I promote myself and not be dismissed? Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind me asking, what new position ideally would you or are you looking to have?
I'm looking to get into either analytics or informatics. I currently work in a diagnostic department, and so I'm on call, and I really need to get out of that.
I understand. So the thing is, whenever it comes to us changing careers, and this is especially true for those people who may be starting out in their careers, I think it's very important for us to always think about transferable skills. And what I mean by transferable skills is you have the job that you're doing right now, and you look at the job description of the job that you ideally would like to get, okay? Sorry, I'm not sure who's not off mute. If you could put your phone on mute, please. And
yes.
it's really it's really ideal for us to look at what those transferable skills are and have that be reflected in our resume. And, you know, I don't know if you're able to do this, Jennifer, but sometimes a lot of companies want us to start out at the bottom before they're able to really hire us in a position. And I know that's challenging in so many ways when it comes to compensation and all of those things. But if you can only get hired, let's say locally, right? This is a job that you have to do in person. You cannot do remote. Sometimes you have to start at the bottom. But just getting that experience and getting your foot in the door is the biggest thing. And I think that's what a lot of folks miss when it comes to medical coding, okay? I am not the biggest promoter of medical coding, but I just want each of you to hear me out. A lot of folks are like, hey, I want this job, but I do not want to do this, right? And this is what one of my professors warned me about my last semester before I graduated. He said, Bertram, you want to be a marketer, you want to do all these things, that's fantastic, but you might have to get a job in sales. If you can do well in sales, sometimes they will help you transition over to something within marketing. And what he was referring to is it's much better for you to get your foot in the door, because once you're able to get your foot in the door, then you get to see the key players, you get to see what's important, you get to learn by experience and all of those things. And from there, then you're able to transition into what you would like. And the funniest thing that I experienced at a lot of the jobs that I've worked in is that, let's say, a husband and wife, right, are both involved in healthcare. They may work at different HIM companies. So you get started at one company, and before you know it, they're like, hey, actually, my husband at this company is looking for somebody. And you can possibly get hired doing the exact position that you actually want to do at that other company, okay? So it's really good for us to look for those transferable skills, have that reflected on our resume, try to find out the best way to get into those opportunities is by forming those relationships, getting connected with those individuals. And that's the thing, like, if you would ask me as a recruiter right now, Bertram, you want to get a job at a company, right? Would you apply online? I honestly would not apply online. I would not apply online, because when you apply online, it's very easy for them to deny you. But when you send your resume, for example, to a TE, or when you send your resume directly to the person that's a decision maker, it helps. The last corporate position that I applied at, they reached out to me. They wanted to hire me. After I got the job, that's when they sent me the link to apply online, because that starts the HR recruitment process on that side. But I already had the job, so. So Sabra asks, so Bertram, did you get that job based on your LinkedIn profile or because you knew someone? I got that job, actually, the truth of the matter, being referred by somebody helped my resume get recognized, okay? Helped my resume get recognized. And what I mean by that is they took my resume and like, okay, let's interview this person. It did not get me the job. The person and the social media guru of the company that looked at my profile and said, I think you should hire this person, that did not get me the job. Everyone, you would like to know what actually got me that job? When I was in the interview process, and their process was to have at least 3 managers interview any one candidate. So they actually had a downstairs, the first floor, they had like 3 or 4 interview rooms, and I met with somebody that they told me was a hiring manager, but when he came in, he's like, I'm Bertram, I'm not the hiring manager. I just want to meet with you for a few minutes. He met with me and he left. I'm like, well, I don't know what this is. Second gentleman said the exact same thing, and he left. I interviewed with the third person. She said, Bertram, I am the hiring manager. If you get hired for this company, you will work on my team. And I was speaking to her, answering all these questions, and honestly, team and everyone, I did not feel like the interview was going well. I did not feel like I was going to get the job. But I just had this fire burning inside of me. And I said, you know, I really want to work for this company. I think you guys have brought me here for a reason, all of these things. I didn't know if I had the job or not. And I was desperate. And I said, you know, if I'm not the highest performer in your company within the next 6 months, I will fire myself. Okay, I said, I will quit. And the thing was, when I left to go to that company, they did not let me work on my notice. They sent an email saying effective immediately, Bertram is no longer working for this company. So I did not have a plan B. You know, sometimes you leave a job and they're like, yeah, we love you so much, you can come back. I did not get, I love you so much. I got, you better not come back here anymore. So I did not have a plan B. And I want everyone to listen to this. I had a mortgage. I was dating the girl of my dreams. We were looking to get married. I had $10,000 in debt. This job needed to work. But those are probably all of the things that pushed me to be a really good recruiter. So I know people are going to say, well, Bertram is favoritism, and oh, maybe you got hired because you had a very good profile. I spoke with the hiring manager, and she said, Bertram, you had such fire in your eyes. I believe that you would be a really good recruiter, and that's why I hired you. It's not because of my resume. It's not because of my LinkedIn profile. All of those things will only help. You have a credential, you have the experience. All of those things will only help. It's really that burning desire, that passion, you doing your best work. That's what's really going to get you the job. That's what's going to keep you in that job as well. And we have Jen F. Is a more comprehensive resume or profile equate to being noticed? Well, that's the thing. So we're talking about two different things here. When it comes to a resume, I believe that less is more. Hiring managers usually spend less than 10 seconds doing a first round review of a resume. And what that means is they're looking at your resume and they're looking for your credentials, they're looking for your experience, where you have worked, your education, all of those things. So if you have a very long resume, the hiring manager on the first round is not going to spend a lot of time reading it. So if you have it to 1 to 2 pages and it's really just talking about the bullet points and the skills that apply and the job duties that apply to the job that you're looking to get involved in, that's going to help. But having a longer profile is a big thing, okay? When it comes to LinkedIn, let me see if I can share my screen again. All right, so when it comes to LinkedIn, LinkedIn is powered by keyword search. So if I'm looking for an HRM director in Tampa, it's going to show you the HRM directors that you're connected with in Tampa. Okay, does everybody see this? It's going to show me the directors and the people that have HIM in their titles in Tampa. So having a very comprehensive and wordy LinkedIn profile works fantastic. Having a longer resume format for your LinkedIn works in perfect, because what recruiters do, and this is what I mentioned earlier, I cannot show you this, but there's something called LinkedIn Recruiter. It's very expensive and we have to pay a good deal for it, but that allows us to search LinkedIn's entire database, okay? And LinkedIn's entire database has over 600 million profiles, and half of the U.S. working force and workforce is on LinkedIn. So I can find almost half of the U.S. people profiles on LinkedIn. So for example, if I'm looking for inpatient coder, CCS, RHIA, I'll just say Tampa, that's where I'm at. It's going to show me these individuals, right? So having it being more lengthy on your LinkedIn is definitely a big thing, and it helps. When it comes to your resume, you only want to touch on the key points and what's going to pop out to the directors, right? Pop out to the hiring managers. And if you're applying to a system, that's exactly what the untrained HR professional eye is looking for. And I only say that because when I worked at my last company, the HR professional that I worked with was so happy that I was hired, because she's like, Bertram, I have no idea what I'm looking at when I look at these profiles. They're not trained because they're just constantly looking at different profiles and resumes. So looking at coders, looking at the finance person, the secretary, they're not necessarily trained, but folks like myself, we've been doing this for a while, so these credentials and the skills always pop out to us. So once again, it's definitely better for you to have a very lengthy, and definitely make sure that you have your keywords. Somebody reached out to me recently and they had a CCS. They did not even have their CCS on their LinkedIn profile. They did not have it. Like it boggles my mind, because a lot of jobs require those types of credentials. So when you have those credentials listed on your profile, it helps. So have a lengthier profile. It's perfectly okay. I'm going back. Okay. Do we have any last questions? Diana.
I have a question for you, Bertram.
Sure.
Do you have any objection to me pulling back the PowerPoint that will give the people who are here with us this evening a good look at your phone number and your email address so they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'll actually I'm definitely open to sharing the PowerPoint presentation that I shared. So I will have my contact information on there as well. So Diana, when you send that out to everyone, you know, that they can have that as well.
Here is a slide showing up that I'm sharing with all of you. It's got the Renown Talent phone number, and it's got Bertram's email address. I hope y'all understand it. This guy's got a lot going on, and I
Yeah.
think you'll
Hey,
be great to connect. What you got, Bertram? Is this not the correct number?
that is the correct number. I think my AirPods are about to die in a second, but I have two things. So Charlie mentioned, so you can search by area, recruiters, hiring managers, those things. How can I list that I'm willing to relocate? So I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, let me bring this one down and get it out of the way. There you go.
Okay. What I would recommend each of you to do is when you're looking for opportunities, and this is the big thing, a lot of folks with a LinkedIn profile, you don't even realize you have this. Go over to career interest, okay? You click on career interest. You can show recruiters, hiring managers, the HR professionals, the jobs that you're looking for, this is how you do it. You go to your profile. It will show you, hey, what job titles I'm looking for. I'm looking for a medical coding, or let's be more specific. I'm looking for an inpatient coding position, okay? Let's just say medical coder. And then this is where you can put your locations. And on the other side of the LinkedIn recruiter that I cannot show you, we can actually search by people that are in an area and also people that are willing to relocate to an area. So in here, I can put Los Angeles. I can put, I don't know, Sarasota. This is how you can put that you're willing to relocate to these areas, your job types and things. And who would you like to see? Would you like it to be only recruiters, all LinkedIn members? And this helps. And if you put it to recruiters, it shows on LinkedIn Recruiter for recruiters to see all LinkedIn members. When people go to your profile, they can actually see right here that you're open to opportunities.
Okay.
Okay, and I have one more to close out the presentation. So my gift to each of you, and thank you for attending, if you like a resume or LinkedIn profile critique, okay, this is open to everybody who's watched this in lifetime. Connect with me on LinkedIn, okay, by end of day tomorrow, and send me a message with hashtag #BeRenowned, okay? And the reason why my hashtag and the one that I love is #BeRenowned because the difference between somebody that does okay and somebody that does fantastic is the person that does fantastic, they're going for Michael Jordan status. They're looking to be the best of the best. And what's going to help each of you not just get a job, but make sure you continue to have career opportunities throughout your career is by being renowned. It's by you being the best person. When I got my recruiting job, as I said, I had all that debt. I did not have a backup plan. So what I would do is I would go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. I would work till 5. I would come home, have a very quick, dinner with my wife, and then I would open my laptop and start working again. Nobody in our office did that, and I know that because we had a messenger system, and you can see who was online. And I didn't do that just because I had all these pressures against me. It's because I wanted to prove not just to the world but to myself that I can be one of the best recruiters that I ever did it. And in my first year, I recruited just like twice as many people as the person who had the most hires the year before. So the way that you're going to continue getting opportunities after you get connected, after you have a really strong LinkedIn profile, et cetera, is by being renowned. And send me a message on LinkedIn saying that, hey, Bertram, be renowned. I saw the presentation. How you can help me personally is, can you look at my resume? Can you look at my LinkedIn profile? And that's just going to be my gift to each of you for watching this in lifetime. And if you miss this lifetime, reach out to Diana, reach out to the people of your association and ask them, hey, Bertram has some stuff to say. It may help me get a job. Let's bring Bertram on because I want to be able to help people. Since, as I said, this industry has given me so much, and you know, I've learned and I've succeeded by failure, and I don't want that to be or happen to any of you. So if we can help educate you on those strategies to make it out in today, we can do it. And that's the thing. Like when it comes to LinkedIn, for example, we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more that we can get into. But I know that this will also be new territory for some people. So I just wanted to keep it, you know, level one today. And Diana, that's all that I have.
Okay. Well, Bertram, I very, very much appreciate you being with us this evening, being willing to share everything that you've shared with us, with our students. I think we've got a couple of graduates on the line as well, not just students. And please, I hope when you said earlier you'd be willing to come back for a later episode, shall we say, you meant it, because we would love to have you come back to see us on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, and that's the thing. While I'm connected with each of you, I'll also love to see and celebrate with each of you as you get your job and as you get your careers. And this is the thing. It's not just for you to go and, you know, and get that job and you know, you just be a wonderful and renowned person. It's also you remembering just how hard it was to get a job. I forgot the person who mentioned they were having a hard time having that internship. It's maybe you reaching out to the school that you graduated at and just asking like, hey, I am the HM director. I can help you get does anybody need an internship, right? It's also about us helping those who are having a hard time because some people are ready to leave this industry because they're having a hard time finding a job. That should never happen, you know? But definitely making a personal connection helps. When my wife, she's a dental hygienist, she needed 20 hours of I forget what they call it, shadowing, whatever, to actually get accepted into the program. I talked to my dentist and I said, I noticed you have a very lovely office. Can my wife mentor? Like, can she shadow you guys for 20 hours? They're like, yeah, sure. And we were able to do it. But I know if I just emailed, if I just, you know, called in, and it was probably, no, Bertram, no, we can't do it. But because I knew them and we had a relationship, they were willing to do it. And we still visit that office today. So let's not underestimate the power of relationships. But I appreciate each of you for connecting and making the time. And Diana, yeah, let's make this, I don't know, a biannual thing or every 6 months, whatever, however it would be beneficial to the group and to the audience. We'd love to come back again.
Wonderful. And while I'm thanking you, I also want to thank Jasmine Agnew. She is our program mentor, and she is who put me in touch with you. So between the two of you, thank you very much. I suspect everybody else here with us this evening is going to thoroughly enjoy your information. Bertram, I will send you a link shortly that will have the recording, and then we can all share it wherever it needs to be shared. Okay?
Yep. Thank you, each of you. Have a good night, everyone.
For all of you who are here with me, before you go off and leave me, please realize that we will have another town hall next month, and I believe the exact date of it is going to be on the 26th of February. Can't tell you what the program will be yet. Still working on that. But thank you all so much for being with us, and thank you for participating and communicating back and forth. I think that makes the presentations really great. I will be posting the links out in the course tips for each of the BSHIM degree courses. And of course, you can always reach out to me and I'll send you the link as well. But thank you for being with me, and I look forward to seeing y'all at a later date. Night all.